Peace to you all, guys. It's great to be able to talk with you guys again. And we got a ton of stuff to talk about. We got some news. And this is basically focused around, unfortunately, Floyd Mayweather. But it's not going to take out the delight and sting of what we're going to talk about concerning other boxing fights. Because the fight really we're going to be focusing on is Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. And there's a whole bunch of things there that I enjoy talking to you guys about and want to talk to you guys about. But before I do so, let's start off with a piece of scripture. So the scripture that we're going to read today comes from Psalms. Again, I've been reading a lot of Psalms for you guys. And Psalms 116 is an interesting one. It says, I love the Lord. He heard my cry and pity gave me. Long as I live, while troubles rise, I'll give him my life. It says, I love the Lord because he heard my voice and supplications, because he inclined his ear to me. Therefore I call upon him as long as I live. The pains of death surround me, and the pangs of Sheol lay hold on me. I found trouble and sorrow. Then I called upon the name of the Lord. O Lord, I implore you, you deliver my soul. Gracious is the Lord, and righteous. Yes, O Lord is merciful. The Lord preserves the simple. I was brought low, and he saved me. Return to your rest, O my soul, for the Lord has dealt bountifully with you. I wish you guys peace. When I say peace, this is the kind of peace I'm talking about, where you don't have to fight up and be troubled about anything. You just have to rest in the peace of God, knowing he will deliver you from all your problems. So we're looking at, first of all, we're going to look at Sugar Ray Robinson. And we're going to look at, between his major fights, how many stay busy fights he had. And not in a big thing, because this is in the context of Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? So let's just go to it. Sugar Ray Robinson won his first really notable title. He had some good fights against some former world champions. But really, we have to hold him accountable once he became world champion. So he became world champion back in 1970. It's 1940, sorry. Did I say 70? 1940, what was it? 1947? 47, was it? He became world champion. 1946. 1946, he became the world welterweight champion. He beat Tommy Bell to become the world champion. He faced Tommy Bell a number of times. And this was just another time facing him. And he became not the lineal champion, but a world champion, world welterweight champion. Now, after that, he faced a number of opponents at a high weight class, but he was the bigger guy. He faced Bernie Miller. Then he faced Freddie Wilson. Then he faced Eddie Finazzo. These were all fights. It showed that Sugar Ray Robinson was a big welterweight. That's why he could go up in weight. So he was the bigger guy for these fights. Freddie Wilson was a little bigger than him, but for the most part, he was bigger than Bernie Miller, Freddie Wilson, and Eddie Finazzo. These were not championship fights. Now, back in the day, sometimes guys would go up in weight. You know, if you look at guys like Willie Pep, they'd go up to lightweight. You might be a featherweight, but you go up to lightweight, and you fight a couple lightweight fights. You look at guys like Roberto Duran. he would do some stay busy fights. He'd go up in weight to super lightweight, and he'd fight a couple of super lightweight fights. And if you look at Canelo, Canelo's doing pretty much the same thing. After he's done a championship fight, in this case, though, he goes to another championship fight. His stay busy is a championship fight at a higher weight class. But this is again to build strength to handle the weight class below. And so Sugar Ray Robinson was actually a bigger guy. He was a very big welterweight. So he had to go up in weight because of the same day weigh-ins. He would go up in weight. So he was 153.5 pounds. That's more comfortable for him. He faced Bernie Miller. Bernie Miller wasn't any top echelon middleweight, but he was a big enough, small enough middleweight that you could have this fight. He was actually a welterweight, actually. These were non-commissioned fights, hence the reason they weren't championship fights. It wasn't any top 10 people. So what happened was you saw he faced Bernie Miller, Freddie Wilson, Eddie Finazzo. And then he faced Georgie Abrams. Georgie Abrams was known as Sugars and was a good fighter. And you can see, no, he's not Sugar, sorry. But Georgie Abrams gave him a split. He just won that fight by a split decision win. Abrams did very well, and on some judges' scorecards actually beat Sugar Ray Robinson. That's interesting. One judge's scorecard, Marty Monroe. So it was a good fight, a solid fight with Georgie Abrams. And again, this was at a higher weight class. But here's the thing. All of these fights could be considered stay busy fights. Now we'll give him an excuse, but you just became world champion. So we'll give him that excuse. However, he became world champion after a number of fights. We're talking about what was Sugar Ray Robinson at the time? They didn't say here, but he had done 40-something fights before he became world champion. So it's very important. It's very important to note, and a number of rematches, that this guy was well experienced and didn't need these stay busy fights, especially at this higher weight classes. But he chose to do that. So we had to lump all of these fights here, from Bernie Miller to Eddie Finazzo, as stay busy fights. George Abrams was a solid fight. I got to give him that. And George Abrams was the bigger guy. So was Eddie Finazzo and Freddie Wilson. But the point is, it was a solid fight. Okay. He then went on to face Jimmy Doyle. And this was a championship match, and it was a tough one for him because Jimmy Doyle was this is the guy I think he killed. Sorry, I'm mistaking him from another guy. Jimmy Doyle, anyway, he faced him, knocked him out, and I think he killed him. And this was a 147. But he had been used to, of course, fighting much bigger guys, so this was not too much of a challenge for him. The only thing was going down in weight. So he was a beast. Almost every welterweight fight, consider this, almost every welterweight fight, Sugar Ray Robinson was the bigger guy. He was the bigger, stronger guy. And you would see that in Shane Mosley's career, where Shane Mosley goes up to super welterweight, and he campaigns and it comes back down to welterweight. Shane Mosley being a guy that's more about 165 and walk around, okay? So Shane Mosley was a big welterweight as well. And so there's a lot of comparisons between Shane Mosley's career and Sugar Ray Robinson's career as well. I have to argue Shane Mosley had less stay busy fights. In fact, Shane Mosley fought tough competition after tough competition after tough competition. Now, the other thing you have to note is that almost every month, Sugar Ray Robinson was busy. So these were stay busy fights. Back in the day, it was a different system. So that guys stayed in shape by keeping on fighting. So that's why they said different times, different era. So whereas boxers today had other ways of staying busy, staying sharp, and they could take 6 months off between fights, guys back in the day didn't do that. They fought very regularly. So if you notice, this is one fight 1 month. The next month it was another fight. In a couple of days after, he had another fight. Okay, and then the next month he had another fight, and so on. So he was fighting almost every month. So this is also something to factor in, that Sugar Ray Robinson was fighting very regularly, whereas guys would now spar and they do a number of other things to stay sharp. Back in the day, these guys would fight. The other thing that's very important for people to understand, because it's different times, different era, is that now in this era, we're going into a science where people don't even have to run anymore. A lot of running and elevation training is not necessary. So as the science of boxing evolves, less and less you'll see boxers doing those things. Sean Porter, for example, doesn't have to do altitude training. They do it right inside of there with oxygen, hyperbaric chambers. And also they don't have to run long distances. They can do it on a treadmill, using, again, controlling the oxygen levels. So people don't have to go on the road and actually run anymore. And it's proven actually that running is not the best way to actually get in shape for a fight and conditioning. So there's a lot of things now with the science of boxing that's changed, and these archaic systems are being done away with. And so that's why I said boxing as a sport evolves all the time. Anywho, so he goes to Jimmy Doyle, which is a real fight. Then he goes the next 2 months and he fights a guy called Sammy Secrete, which clearly this guy's just a stay busy fight. And of course, Sugar Ray Robinson's the bigger guy. And of course, he knocks him out in the first round. But it's just to get work, okay? So now that you understand what a stay busy fight is, I want to show you why Floyd Mayweather is just so much different to Sugar Ray Robinson, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., all the old time greats, and why Floyd is of a higher standard. Because what I try to explain to people is these stay busy fights pad the career of Sugar Ray Robinson. He'd be fighting every month, but who is he actually fighting? And so because of that, if you really shrink down Sugar Ray Robinson's career and you look at what the actual fights that count in his career, that's what Floyd Mayweather's resume is. Floyd Mayweather's resume is a condensed version of the fights that really count and really matter, whereas Sugar Ray Robinson's career is actually like the expanded version of that. So when people talk about, Sugar Ray Robinson went like for 90-something fights without, losing a fight, who cares? He was fighting guys who he was supposed to beat. It didn't matter if he came, it's almost like a guy came off the street and is fighting you and you're a boxer. You could fight 3-4 of those guys every day. So it was more like sparring, where he just, vicious sparring at that, where you just knock out guys and then just, that they get a paycheck for it. And that's what you're really looking at. So for guys who are stay ready all year round, they spar all year round, they do things all year round, they're working all year round, like guys like Floyd Mayweather, guys like Sean Porter, their resumes are not going to reflect this amount of activity, but they actually have either this amount of activity or more. You can't stay sharp for a fight if you're not fighting all the time or boxing all the time, which means you're sparring all the time. So I believe that's what's going on with Floyd and with these guys, and they get in the ring and they do what they do year round. So now that you understand that, let's look at all of the padded pieces in Sugar Ray Robinson's resume. And from there, we're going to see how that compares up to Floyd's condensed version. And Floyd does have 1 or 2 little pads in between. And we're not going to count, of course, Floyd Mayweather's crossover fight with glorified sparring, basically, with Conor McGregor. We're not going to count that one. That one was a crossover fight, and it was recorded as an actual fight. We still have to take it as an actual fight, but of course, that's a padded fight because there was no way Floyd was going to lose that fight, right? Unless he came in really out of shape or something. So that's a padded fight, a glorified padded fight, but it's a padded fight. That's like Conor McGregor coming off the street and fighting Floyd. Yes, Conor McGregor is into boxing, but Floyd is just so far ahead of Conor McGregor. It's just like one of these stay busy fights, okay? All right, so let's go into how many padded fights Sugar Ray Robinson had in his career, or stay busy fights. Let's just call it stay busy fights. Sounds better. So when you look at Bernie Miller, that's a stay busy fight. When you look at Freddie Wilson, even though the guy is bigger than Sugar Ray Robinson, clearly this is not a guy on Sugar Ray Robinson's level, which is why he was KO'd in 3. So these are all stay busy fights. If he's knocking out these guys so fast, they're stay busy fights, right? So all 3 of these fights were stay busy fights when he won the title at welterweight. And then he faced Georgie Abrahams. Georgie Abrahams was a legitimate fight, even though it was not one in which he actually, the governing boxing body didn't authenticate. And I'll tell you, there are 2 ways you can know. One of them is you can see how close the fight was, telling me that Georgie Abrams had a lot of skill. Now, as much as Georgie Abrams outweighed Sugar Ray Robinson, Georgie Abrams basically came in a middleweight. Sugar Ray Robinson came in a super welterweight or a small middleweight. That's not the reason why Georgie Abrams ended up in a close fight with Sugar Ray Robinson. You can see that the actual boxing world actually booed the fight because they thought Georgie Abrams beat him. But here's the thing. Georgie Abrams, if you go and watch any fights coverage of him, or you can find anything on him, was a boxer. Okay, I don't think Sugar Ray Robinson faced Georgie Abrams ever again, and that should tell you just how good he was. So, this was legitimate. You cannot call this a stay busy fight. And it's not because Sugar Ray Robinson struggled with him and it was a good boxing match, but you also look at Georgie Abrams' record, and this just tells you how good a fighter he was. All these other fighters don't have it. Even though Bernie Miller has a pretty good record, we could tell that Bernie Miller wasn't on Sugar Ray Robinson's level, not only because of how Sugar Ray Robinson dispatched of him, but also because when you look at the opponents Bernie Miller faced before facing Sugar Ray Robinson, he didn't really have much opposition. Georgie Abrams, on the other hand, had legitimate opposition. You guys can go ahead and research that. Jimmy Doyle was a legitimate welterweight, a good welterweight. Sugar Ray Robinson ended up killing him, I think, knocking him out and killing him. And this was a legitimate fight. So this is not a padded fight. So he had 3 padded fights in between him facing Jimmy Doyle. Remember, these are once every night. This is like sparring sessions, okay? And so that goes on his record. Georgie Abrams also goes on his record, but that's a legitimate fight. Now, after facing Jimmy Doyle, 2 months later, he faces Sammy Secrete, which clearly, clearly this guy was not a legitimate competition. Not only did the governing body not authenticate it, even though this guy was a welterweight, but also because the guy basically got knocked out in the first round. That doesn't mean anything. His records tells you something. That still doesn't mean anything. But finally, this is the most important part. It wasn't authenticated. Sugar Ray Robinson got rid of him early. Sugar Ray Robinson was the bigger guy. But the guy didn't fight anyone of note before facing Sugar Ray Robinson on Sugar Ray Robinson's level. Sammy Secrete. Go check him out. All right. He then went on to face Flashy Sebastian. Again, another stay busy fight. Clearly, this guy is almost at welterweight. Sugar Ray Robinson didn't make welterweight, which tells me wasn't supposed to be commissioned. Both these guys are welterweights. Sugar Ray Robinson was the bigger guy. He just went in there to stop the guy. This is a guy who, again, Flashy Sebastian, didn't fight nobody of note. All right. Those are very important things that tell you the level of competition you're facing. So while people said that Sugar Ray Robinson was a feared guy and he just stopped guys in first round and stuff, and you see footage of him knocking out guys at welterweight and stuff, you have to pay attention to the level of competition he's facing. He's supposed to dispatch those guys like that. If Floyd Mayweather fought guys like this, forget their records for a minute. Just look at their experience. All right, you're looking at Sammy Secrete's experience, Flashy Sebastian's experience. If he was to fight guys like that who are not well conditioned, they don't have a lot of experience with top level competition. Your top level competition, you face top level competition twice since you become world champion. Okay, they don't have that. There's a big gap between it. Floyd Mayweather would knock those guys out as well, right? And they're smaller than him. Okay. Now, this is very important to understand that you have to look at the level of competition you're facing. Now, after facing those guys, he faced California Jackie Wilson. Now, California Jackie Wilson, even though this was a 10-rounder, California Jackie Wilson was actually a good boxer. Hence the reason he didn't dispose of him early. This was good competition. And there are a number of ways to know. It's not just his record, but it's how long the fight went. And then you just look at California Jackie Wilson's level of competition he faced before facing Sugar Ray Robinson, and you realize, okay, this guy is probably some, either he's a top contender for some division or something like that. And it still happens California Jackie Wilson was a contender for the middleweight division. Okay, he wasn't for the welterweight, he was for the middleweight, but he was a small middleweight. So this is why this comes out this way. So this was good competition. Now, but the important thing to understand is so far he's already gone through 5 stay busy fights. 5. He then faces off against Billy Nixon. And Billy Nixon, as much as his record looks good, Billy Nixon is still, and he's even ranked, inexperienced fighter. He's inexperienced because he hasn't faced top-level competition. So you can see, once again, that this fight should have been at welterweight. This guy is basically a welterweight, okay? And all of these other guys are welterweights, clearly. But it could not be certified as a welterweight match because Billy Nixon wasn't the top welterweight contender. You understand? So it was another stay busy fight. So he got a ton of stay busy fights, but here's the important thing. Almost every 2 months, and sometimes within a month, he faced stay busy fights. Okay? This was just to sharpen him up for the contender, which was Chuck Taylor. So when you look at it, he's again the bigger guy. Time and time again, he's the bigger guy. So this is another stay busy fight, which leads the title to 6 stay busy fights. Then he faces a contender. This is not a stay busy fight. This is a contender. So you have to treat it as such. And he defends his title against Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor's not a big, he's not he's not spectacularly great. It's really interesting. The reason I guess this fight is certified because they've made the weight. He's a smaller guy in the ring. And on top of that, Chuck Taylor has beaten 1 or 2 top contenders, but he's not really faced someone on the level of a Ray Robinson. He's not really, but it doesn't matter. The point is, he goes, he fights, and he gets knocked out. Okay, but he's not really top tier guy. It's kind of like when Floyd faced Carlos Gerena or Gerard, still not top tier, just kind of on their way up. Then he faces Ozzie Harris, and Ozzie Harris gives him a good run for his money. He goes the distance with Ozzie Harris. Don't let the record, like I say, records can trick you. Ozzie Harris actually gave him a little bit more than he could handle. He then faced Henry Brim, who was actually a good fighter to face. Both Ozzie Harris and Henry Brim were bigger than him, so those were good fights. He then faced Bernard Ducosin. Now, here's the funny part about this: Bernard Ducosin was actually it's a world welterweight type. It was a world welterweight fight, but Ducosin is actually a guy who's smaller than him. This was a welterweight competition. This is a legitimate fight. They did well. He then goes on to face Kid Gavilan, which was very good. It was not sanctioned as a welterweight fight because, again, both guys were a little bit above the weight. Legitimate fight. He then faced Bobby Lee, another legitimate fight, even though it's not sanctioned. And then he fought Young Gene Buffalo. Young Gene Buffalo clearly was not a guy who should have been in the ring with Sugar Ray Robinson, and basically he did what he was supposed to do with him, leading it to 7 stay busy fights. Now, this fight actually happened 3 months after the Bobby Lee fight, so that's very interesting. And then so it was a stay busy fight to fit in between his fight with Henry Brim, where he rematched Henry Brim, and Henry Brim really gave him a run for his money, which was fantastic to see. And so there was a split decision draw for Henry Brim. All right. Okay, so he then faced Bobby Lee after. Bobby Lee. And Bobby Lee, again, had a record that's, really out there, a record. But he actually fought him, and Bobby Lee went all the way, the whole distance with him. So you have to look at, like I said, the competition these guys are facing, what kind of person they are. Now, imagine Sugar Ray Robinson is the bigger guy. He's the stronger guy. He's got all the advantages, and Bobby Lee still drags him on to 10 rounds. Think about that. If he's such a fearsome boxer, Bobby Lee shouldn't do that, right? Again, you don't just look at the record. You have to look at how this person fared with him, what kind of competition Bobby Lee faced, and so on. Then Don Lee faced him. Don Lee was much bigger than him. And again, that fight went the distance. Then he ended up facing Earl Turner. All of these fights, by the way, are above. You can see these guys are clearly above welterweight. Bobby Lee, however, was a welterweight. Bobby Lee was the long guy, I think, that he faced. If I'm not mistaken, he was 6 foot something. I can always check here. Let me have a look. Nope. Bobby Lee was not 6 foot something. He's just a black slick fighter. Okay. So let me see if I can go back here. Can I go back? Okay. I'm going to try and go back here. Oh. Wow. Okay. There you go. Let's go back to Bobby Lee. Okay, so we're by Bobby Lee, which is right. What happened? Oh wow, we logged out. Oh, that's so sucky. I'm gonna have to do everything else all over again. Just logging in. Don't worry, we'll continue. I just want to show you guys something extensively to let you understand. But again, understand that this is a different time. But I'm just showing you that when you compare Floyd with these guys, you have to look at it in the context of what are the fights that actually count. Okay. So anyway, he had a good fight with Bobby Lee. Then he faced Earl Turner. Now Earl Turner was this was again a fight outside of welterweight. It's a bigger guy. He stopped Earl Turner. So he stopped this guy. Again, this is a good fight. Even though Earl Turner may not have the experience or whatever, it's still a good fight. I will not contest. Freddie Flores. We actually have footage of Freddie Flores facing Sugar Ray Robinson. All right, there's footage of it. And it's because Freddie's much bigger than him. Freddie's not, was it Freddie Flores? I think it was, no, it wasn't Freddie Flores. Okay. But there's footage of it. And maybe it's not Freddie Flores. I can't remember. But he did stop him in 3. As you can see, Freddie Flores was, okay, so you see his record there. He was a much bigger guy. I guess he doesn't really match Sugar Ray Robinson's skill level, but he has a lot of experience boxing. Anyway, he still got stopped in 3. And then Cecil Hudson, a big guy again, but was stopped in 5. These are not necessarily, maybe Freddie Flores is a stay busy fight, but these are not necessarily stay busy fights, okay? These are all seemingly legitimate fights. I may be wrong, but I'm not going to add them, okay? We just have 7 so far. And he faced Kid Gavilan, who's a good fighter. He faced him before, and they went 15-rounder for a title, so that's legitimate. He faced Steve Bellois, who was much bigger, and he was much bigger, and he was able to stop Steve Bellois. But Bellois was a good boxer, okay? So this is not a stay busy fight at all. And Benny Evans, then he faced. Benny Evans. This fight was one in which, you know, again, he goes up in weight. He faces these guys. You have to look to see if the weight is anywhere around 148, 147. He's obviously getting stronger. He's growing into being a middleweight here, and he stops Benny Evans. A good boxer. So I won't call that a stay busy fight. However, Charlie Dudson, I would call a stay busy fight. Okay, so Charlie Dudson's fight was a stay busy fight. Don Lee, that was obviously not a stay busy fight. As you can see, it went the distance. Vern Lester, that was a stay busy fight, clearly. And then you had George La Rover. Now, all of these guys are much bigger guys, except for George La Rover, who's obviously a welterweight, and he stopped him. Had a lot of experience, George La Rover, and it is what it is. So out of these things, you had one stay busy fight, which was Charlie Dudson. Okay. And Al Mobley is another guy. And then you had Johnny Dudley. And all of these fights, as you can see, almost all of these fights are stay busy now. You had Aaron Wade. Okay, John Walzak was a good boxer, but you can see that he's really hovering around. Middleweight. So he's campaigning at middleweight. He's a smaller middleweight, but he's still campaigning at that, and he's stopping these guys, right? So that's about 9 stay busy fights. George Cosner, that's the guy that Sugars. He stopped him in the first round. But Sugars was a good boxer, okay? And he managed to stop him in the first round. Cliff Beckett, that's the one that we have footage of, where he faced Cliff Beckett, and he faced Cliff Beckett in 1950, and he was able to stop him in the 3rd round. Because this was an inexperienced fighter. By then, Sugar Ray Robinson was very experienced, so you have to call this a stay busy fight, whether you like it or not. And so that was another stay busy fight that he had, and that brings us to 10. Ray Barnes put up a good fight with him. Definitely a middleweight. So he was fighting middleweight fights, and now you can see he's more or less a middleweight. Robert Villamain was a good boxer, a good middleweight fight, and so he's fighting at middleweight now. These are all real. Charlie Fosuri. Charlie Fosuri's fight is actually there. You can actually find it, I think, on YouTube. Sugar Ray Robinson versus Charlie Fosuri is pretty good resolution, and this was one of his last welterweight fights, and at 147, and it was a good fight. It was a good fight. I would say that Fosuri, once again, he wasn't one of the best welterweights out there, even though he was ranked highly, and therefore that's why he faced Sugar Ray Robinson. But again, this is not a stay busy fight. So we have 10 stay busy fights so far that he had. Jose Basora, very good fighter, got stopped, but before he had a split decision draw against Jose Basora. Billy Brown. So after facing Jose Basora and getting the Pennsylvania State middleweight title, which is not a real middleweight title, but nonetheless, he then faced Billy Brown, which was a middleweight. Again, it's not a championship sanctioned fight per se, but it was a good fight. And you can see that, well, this is how the referee ruled the fight. 9-1, 10-10, and 10-0. Then you had John Rindon. John Rindon, again, good fight. Good opponent, more at middleweight. Then he faced Bobo Olsen, very good opponent, very good, top tier opponent. And that fight didn't go the distance, but it was a good fight. Bobby Dykes. Bobby Dykes, this is crazy. Bobby Dykes was a tall, lengthy guy who really could box. And Sugar Ray Robinson was actually the bigger guy in that ring in terms of weight. But Bobby Dykes gave him all he could handle. And this was a good fight. It wasn't a sanctioned fight, but it should have been. Sugar Ray Robinson should have tried to make 147. He did not. A lot of times people talk about, guys like Adrian Broner and Gervonta Davis and how they don't make weight. Well, guess what? Sugar Ray Robinson used to dictate. And he didn't even bother to make weight certain times. This is something people don't even talk about. He then faced John Stock after facing Bobby Dykes. And again, this is not a stay busy fight. Luke Van Dam, though some guys have great records, but they're really not that, right? But anyway, Luke Van Dam, this is the fight where he hit the guy with the kidney shot and they threw stuff at him afterwards. Jean Walzak, he faced him. As you can see, more of his fights are going the distance. He rematched Robert Villamain, and he was able to stop him. He was able to stop him in the 9th round. And here's a stay busy fight. Just a hand stretch. Hand stretch was a stay busy fight. Okay, that's 11. Jake LaMotta, he was able to fight Jake LaMotta and beat him for the world middleweight title. Holly Mims is a very good fighter. And again, he went the distance with him. And then we had some stay busy fights again. Don Ellis, stopped him. Kid Marcel, two stay busy fights. I mean, these was a very experienced fighter here, Kid Marcel, but still, it is what it is. So that's 12 and 13. You got John Waynes, Zurich. Then you have Jean Debron. And again, these are not. They have good records, but it doesn't really mean much. He rematched Jean Walzak. Then he faced Jared Hurt. And the fight was stopped because of a kidney blow. This was a German guy. Cyril Delanuit. He faced him. Again, big records. He was touring the world at the time, kind of like what Floyd's doing now. And again, this is a glorified fight. Let's put it that way, but we're going to leave that alone. Then he faced Randy Turpin for the world middleweight title. Turpin comes and upsets him. He comes and refights Turpin. Is able to stop him the second time around. They don't have a third rematch. Faces Bobo Olsen and Rocky Graciano. And then he goes up and faces Joey Maxim. And then he goes on to face Joe Ryden once again. It's like he goes to his buddy. Then he faces Ralph Tiger Jones. Then he faces Johnny Lombardo. and he gets a win over Johnny Lombardo. Then he faces Ted Ola. I don't know who that guy is. And clearly, by now, this is like a stay busy fight. So this is a stay busy fight in between fights. He's no longer middleweight champion, so he's kind of working his way back. Ted Ola is a stay busy fight, obviously, because the next month he faces Gareth Panther. These are stay busy fights. Gareth Panther gives him some work, and then he faces Rocky Castellini. And Rocky Castellini knocks him down. And he's able to beat Rocky Castellini, but it's a tougher fight. He faces Bob Olson twice, beats him. Then he goes on to face Bob Provizzi. It gives him a tougher fight than he expected. It was supposed to be a stay busy fight. It wasn't. It turned out not to be. And then he faces Gene Fuller. He gets beaten the first time. He's able to stop Gene Fuller. He wins the title once again. He faces Carmen Basilio, who's a smaller dude, obviously. And Basilio beats him. He beats back Carmen Basilio. Then he faces Bob Young, which is a stay busy fight, which is number 14. Then he faces Paul Pender. He loses the fight to him. I thought he won, but it is what it is. He faces Tony Baldeoni, and that's a stay busy fight. That is 15. Faces back Paul Pender. Then he faces Gene Fuller. He draws with him. He faces Gene Fuller again. He loses. Then he faces Wilf Greaves, who gives him a good run for his money. And this time he's kind of old. Denny Moyer, okay, he faces, and he's able to beat Denny Moyer. He faces Al Hoser. It's a stay busy fight, and he's able to knock him out. And that's number 16. And we're just keeping it going now. Wilf Greaves, he's able to beat. That's a good boxer. It's not stay busy. Denny Moyer, and then Bobby Lee. Remember Bobby Lee? Yeah, he knocks out Bobby Lee. And that is number 17. Obviously, this is a stay busy fight. He just tore in the world. And then Phil Moyer, Terry Downs, Diego Infantis. Again, it's just touring the world. So this is a stay busy fight, which is 18. Number 19 is another stay busy fight. Ralph Dupas, he is able to beat him. Then Bernie Reynolds, stay busy fight because it's a debutant. That's number 19, number 20, number 21. Okay. Joey Giardello is a good fight. Armando Vanucci, he's just touring the world again. This is supposed to be a stay busy fight, but somehow he's struggling with it. He's an old guy right now, so it's okay. So that's 22, 23. These are just up-and-comers. 24, same guy again. 25, 26. This is an inexperienced guy, but he manages to draw with him. This guy manages to beat him, and then all of these are stay busy. 27, 28. By this time, he's an old man, and so it doesn't really matter. 29, right? 30, 31. He's touring the world. 32. These all stay busy fights. All of them. Even these guys that beat him, they shouldn't beat him. 33, he rematches the guy. 34. I don't know why he did that. And it just piles on. 35, 36, 37, 38. He ends up his career with Joey Archer. So when they talk about 201 fights, and remember, we're talking from his championship. If you take away his championship fights, and we haven't talked about rematches even. When you talk about his championship fights, which would have been from, I think he became world champion in his 40-something fight. I think 40th fight, is it? Is it his 40th fight? I don't know. They should have it numbered somewhere. But in his 40th fight, let me see if I can find it. I think it's his 40th fight. It's supposed to be numbered somewhere. I mean, it's supposed to be. BoxRec usually has this stuff numbered, but whatever. Anyway, if you take away his 40 fight, that's 160 fights. And you take away 40 fights, let's say, that's 120 fights. And you take away the rematch. Oh, sorry, my bad. You have to, yes. So you have 120 fights, and then you take away for the rematches, which are a whole bunch of rematches, and you end up with somewhere around 50 something, 60 something fights. You end up with a lot of fights being less, okay, significantly less. And the point behind it is this, that you want to condense the stuff down. So yes, Sugar Ray Robinson had 200 and something fights, which some of them were just basically exhibition matches. And when you really put it into perspective, and even yes, when you put it into perspective about how many fights really actually counted in his resume, still a lot of fights, but it's like his resume is padded, and that's what I try to explain to people. And that's a different era, so that's the way how they had to do it. But because they counted those fights, it's interesting how people are so angry that Floyd, counted the McGregor match as number 50. But that's just a glorified padded fight. You see, it's just a glorified padded fight. It's a crossover fight. It's a padded fight. Sugar Ray Robinson had umpteen of those. Okay, you saw him fight debutants, for crying out loud. But yet everybody goes down on Floyd for fighting a glorified debutant in Conor McGregor. And this is the kind of hypocrisy we have today. So that's why I wanted to just point out these things. Now, when you look at Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s career, which most people already know, he didn't have that. But again, the distance between fights was a lot shorter. So if we can start from his championship win against Genaro Hernandez, which is right here, okay, he then faced the number one contender, which is Angel Manfredi, which was obviously a commissioned fight. Once you see commissioned fights, they're not stay busy fights, right? So you have these commissioned fights: Justin Juku, Carlos Jarena, who's a former world champion, Gregorio Vargas. But then you have this fight, Emmanuel Augustus. He goes up in weight. This guy gives him the toughest fight of his career. He still stops him. But again, you see the length of time. And if you go and look at Emmanuel Augustus' resume, this is the important part. You will see that Emmanuel Augustus, at the time when he faced Floyd Mayweather, had fought a lot of serious competition. Okay, so let me find where that would be. Here it is. So he faced Floyd Mayweather Jr. here. But what people don't know is he faced John Molina, who became a world champion and was a world champion. All right. He had also faced, let me roll it all the way back so you guys can see. All right. So this guy had faced Jesus Chavez, okay, who later became a world champion. Pete Taliaferro, who was a promising upcomer. Ivan Robinson, who Arturo Gatti beat, and who beat Arturo Gatti. He also faced guys like Diesel Blaze Hurtado, who later became a lightweight world champion. Okay. So you see, this guy wasn't just an ordinary guy. He had a lot of experience, a lot of skill. He wasn't promoted properly, but he had a lot going for him. Even Terry Reed, okay, and then John Molina, okay, and then he faced Floyd Mayweather. So it's not just, you can't just look at, okay, the guy's losing all the time. You got to look at who is he fighting. And that's why Floyd couldn't just dispatch him just like that. It took him 9 rounds to dispatch the guy, and the guy was live all the way through, right? Okay, so this is not a stay busy fight. Diego Corrales was the next fight that he faced. And of course, Carlos Hernandez, Jesus Chavez, these all became future world champions. And Jose Luis Castillo, the best lightweight in the world, faced him twice. And then he faced Victoria Sosa. Again, this was a commissioned fight, which tells you Victoria Sosa. Victoria Sosa did not actually face anybody of note, in my opinion. It went 12 rounds because the guy was tough as well, but also he had the will to win. And then he faced Philip Andu, who was supposedly a good knockout artist and stuff. It was an exciting fight, but I just didn't think he was on Floyd's caliber. And then he faced DeMarcus Coley. Henry Barcelos, I'm going to just say this right now. Henry Barcelos hadn't faced anybody of note. And so I would think this is a glorified, as much as his record and everything, this was a glorified stay busy fight, preparing him for Arturo Gatti. This was a stay busy fight. It was supposed to prepare him for Cotto. So I pretty much believe that. And I will even add that I think Sosa and Endu were stay busy fights, glorified stay busy fights. I would say those were stay busy fights. I'll be as hard on Floyd as I can. Arturo Gatti, Obviously not a stay busy fight. Shambe Mitchell was a stay busy fight to acclimatize him to welterweight. And then he faced Zav Judah, Carlos Baldomir, and he never had another stay busy fight in his career. Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, Victor Ortiz, Miguel Cotto, Robert Guerrero, Saul Alvarez, Marcus Maidana, and so on. Okay, except for Conor McGregor. Okay, so 49 fights. Let's condense it down. 49 fights. He started fighting Jonaro Hernandez in his 18th or 19th fight, something like that. So you take away 18 or 19, and then you take away about 3 or 4 fights. So in the end, you take away about 22 fights out of his 49 fights, and you will get 27 fights. 27 fights. And remember, he had no rematches. So again, Sugar Ray Robinson would have had 50-something fights. But of the 50-something fights he had, how many did he actually win? And you'll find that he won about maybe 30-something of them. All right? When you take out rematches and all of that stuff, or however you try to calculate it. Therefore, what I'm saying is that Floyd had, when you condense down Sugar Ray Robinson's career, you get Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s career. Except Floyd Mayweather Jr. was always on top. It was always winning every fight. And the interesting thing about this that I want to just point out to you guys is that with all of these fights, you'll notice he fought like twice a year. Now, to be honest with you, that's the ideal situation for mega fights, to fight twice a year. And if you look at Sugar Ray Robinson's career, more or less, when you get the average of it, all of these guys fought 2 major opponents a year. He may rematch somebody or whatever, but it was basically 2 major fights a year, even with all that activity. And the more they got more seasoned as champions, the less they had regular fights. And this is something very important for people to understand. Now, Sugar Ray Robinson fought all the way into his 40s, but my point being that I wanted to make the point that a lot of people don't understand. Stay busy fights were a way of the past. They were the way that how boxers were able to basically prepare for opponents, stay sharp, stay alert, and so on. There was sparring, but not like how it is today. And because boxing has evolved, a lot of people don't realize that they would talk about, all the old champions used to fight regularly. And Floyd Mayweather was back in the day, he wouldn't be able to survive. No, he would have survived just fine. Because if he had the skills and abilities he had now, he probably even put up a bigger record than Sugar Ray Robinson did, because you'll be fighting a lot of tomato cans to keep you sharp. So at the end of the day, if I just got to fight tomato cans, we've seen Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight regularly in the beginning of his career, and he's not even experienced, and he's mowing through tomato cans, right? So, this is what he was doing to tomato cans. And this is what Sugar Ray Robinson did to tomato cans, right? See all that? They're all tomato cans, right? That's why he's running through them. And that's what Sugar Ray Robinson was doing. And that's why people thought Sugar Ray Robinson had this big KO ratio and he had a lot of power. He did have a lot of power. But if you look at his career knockout percentage, is the same as Floyd Mayweather. And the reason that is so is not because Floyd Mayweather can't punch. He can punch. And it doesn't mean that Sugar Ray Robinson can't punch. He can punch. It's that both guys, basically, the more fights you get, the more realistic the actual KO ratio becomes. And it just so happens Floyd and Sugar Ray Robinson, this gonna sound like sacrilege, but I think they punch just about the same. I think they got the same kind of pop. I remember Sugar Shane Mosley saying that Floyd and Canelo, at the time when Canelo was at super welterweight, have about the same pop. And that does not surprise me at all, because what Mosley's saying, I think maybe Sugar Ray Robinson would have had a punching power, something like Mosley, but I don't know. Mosley did have pop, okay? And Ray Robinson did have pop because he knocked out middleweights, okay? So maybe you're talking about maybe a Mosley pop, maybe a little bit more than Mosley, but at welterweight, I don't think he had that kind of pop. And so anyway, my point being this. Sugar Ray Robinson, for his time, was legendary. You put Sugar Ray Robinson at this time with athletes who are conditioned today, and all of a sudden his pop doesn't seem that much of a pop. It's still going to be a phenomenal pop, but nothing like the pop that the guys have today in terms of what guys can generate. And it's because of the science of boxing now. And even today, I think guys pop even harder than Floyd used to pop. And you can see their conditioning is even better than Floyd's conditioning. And Floyd's well conditioned. So it's just amazing, this new breed of fighters. And I can see the new breed of fighters surpassing what Floyd has done already in boxing. But to say that Floyd won, his record does pales to Sugar Ray Robinson, because this is what people always quote, and they talk about his long winning streak, and they forget that it's a different era where you had to have stay busy fights, and some of those fighters just did not belong in the ring with Sugar Ray Robinson. 30 something of them, right? 30 something of those fights to 40 of those fights didn't, but they were just stay busy fights. They weren't fights where it belonged in Sugar Ray. These guys didn't even belong in Sugar Ray Robinson's class. All right, and then you got the average guys. You know, even I did some glorified fights, and if I would apply that to Sugar Ray Robinson like I did to Floyd, then another set of fighters would be out of the ring. You know, even the commission fights, some of those fighters didn't belong in the ring with Sugar Ray Robinson. It's just what it is. So you have to look at those things. You have to consider those things. The other thing I want you to consider, I want to show you just how many fighters outweighed Floyd Mayweather. Unlike Sugar Ray Robinson, who was a big welterweight, and most guys were bigger than him. And even when he was fighting at middleweight, sometimes he was bigger than some guys. That's not the case with Floyd. Conor McGregor outweighed Floyd on the scales, came in on fight night. Conor McGregor was 170-something pounds. Floyd was 150 pounds. Andre Berto outweighed Floyd Mayweather, even though on the scales, it said that Andre Berto was lighter. Andre Berto came in on fight night 160-something pounds. Floyd was 140-something pounds. Manny Pacquiao outweighed Floyd Mayweather on the scales when he came in on fight night, weighing 152 pounds to Floyd's 149 pounds. Marcos Maidana on fight night, both occasions, came in 150-something pounds and 160-something pounds, whereas Floyd came in 148, 149 pounds. Canelo Alvarez, as much as the same day this weigh-in looks like it's comparable, nope. Canelo Alvarez came in 165 pounds to Floyd's 150 pounds. Robert Guerrero came in 153 pounds to Floyd's 148 pounds. Miguel Cotto came in 160-something pounds to Floyd's 149 pounds, I think it was. Victor Ortiz came in 162 pounds to Floyd's 150 pounds. Shane Mosley came in 165 pounds to Floyd's 149 pounds, even though Floyd looked stronger of the two. Juan Manuel Marquez came in 148 pounds to Floyd's 148 pounds. And Marquez was supposed to be smaller than Floyd. Ricky Hatton came in 150-something pounds to Floyd's 140-something pounds. Oscar De La Hoya outweighed Floyd by God knows how much. Floyd came in 148 pounds. Oscar came in, we don't know. Carlos Baldomir came in 163 pounds to Floyd's 148 pounds. Ab Judah came in 150 pounds to Floyd's 100. Was it 150? 150 pounds to Floyd's 147 pounds. Sean Bay Mitchell came in heavier. Arturo Gatti came in heavier than Floyd. Henry Barcelos came in heavier than Floyd. I mean, when you start to look at this stuff, DeMarcus Corley came in heavier than Floyd. Philip Endu came in heavier than Floyd. Victoria Sosa came in heavy. Jose Luis Castillo came in much heavier than Floyd. Okay. The fights at super featherweight, I don't know, but Diego Carlos came in heavier than Floyd. He was sluggish because he was weight trained. So when you look at it, Floyd always, generally throughout almost his entire career, was the lighter guy. There were moments when he was a heavier guy, but they're very few and far between. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is, you telling me that Sugar Ray Robinson would be the bigger guy facing Floyd Mayweather if they were to match up really means absolutely nothing to me, because Floyd has made his career of facing guys that were bigger than him. And this is something that a lot of you guys just don't understand. Robinson and Floyd have about the same reach, so Robinson would just be taller than Floyd. And that don't mean nothing. It's the reach that really matters at the end of the day. And Robinson would be still, into his stance, which means he would have to drop his stance, which means he wouldn't be full height. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is that a lot of times people argue that, Ray Robinson would murder Floyd and stuff. I just don't see it. And I just wanted to point out to you guys also that you condense Ray Robinson's career into the fights that count and the rematches that count. Not rematches for rematches' sake because I'm beating this guy, but rematches that actually count. And you find that Sugar Ray Robinson and Floyd Mayweather, they have comparable fights that count. It's just that Floyd did it in much less fights and succeeded at beating his opponents when he did so. That's the difference. But Floyd and Sugar Ray Robinson have a lot in common when you look at statistically. And based on level of opposition, Floyd has a little bit more variety in his opposition. And I think he also has greater challenges against his opposition because he was a smaller guy. And so, if you ask me, the Mayweather Boxing Club has been asked this question before, but they all answered Floyd would beat Sugar Ray Robinson. I truly believe that as well. I believe he would have beaten Sugar Ray Robinson. As strong as Sugar Ray Robinson was, I saw Floyd deal with Sugar Shane Mosley, and that was a blueprint. Sugar Shane Mosley is not, let me just make it abundantly clear, he is not Sugar Ray Robinson, okay? Sugar Ray Robinson is a little bit smarter, a little bit more textbook. But just from Floyd's performance against Sugar Shane Mosley, it taught me what Floyd would do to Sugar Ray Robinson. You see, that's what I'm saying, and that's what a lot of people are not getting. He would beat up Sugar Ray Robinson because one, he would be first. Two, he'd be faster than Sugar Ray Robinson. He'd have better timing, and he'd have all these other tools that Sugar Ray Robinson didn't exactly utilize. Sugar Ray Robinson didn't walk to you with the high guard. He didn't do that. He was mainly using the Philly shell. He used the stance, something like Shane Mosley did. And Shane Mosley actually had more tools than Sugar Ray Robinson in certain respects. Like he would use the high guard himself. Floyd would bait him and just drop those traps. And I just looked at guys like Charlie Burley, who had those skill sets that Floyd had. And Floyd had sharper skill sets and better skill sets than Charlie Burley. I just know Floyd would have beaten up Sugar Ray Robinson, just like how he beat up Shane Mosley. And, it's like when you look at Tony Pep's the blueprint for what would happen if Floyd fought Tommy Hearns. He would catch Tommy Hearns in the head. He would catch Tommy Hearns to the body. And that would happen in that fight. And so I knew Floyd would actually either beat up Tommy Hearns, or he would drop Tommy Hearns, or he would stop Tommy Hearns if that fight ever happened. Because I saw him deal with a guy who is not Tommy Hearns, okay, not quick as Tommy Hearns and so on. But the strategy that Floyd used to beat up Tony Pep is the same strategy he would have used on Tommy Hearns. And there's a reason why Tommy Hearns never faced Aaron Pryor. There's a reason why Sugar Ray Leonard never faced Aaron Pryor. There's a reason why Roberto Duran never faced Aaron Pryor. Aaron Pryor had those skill sets that Floyd had, that Floyd learned from. Floyd loved Aaron Pryor, by the way. He wanted to face Aaron Pryor if he could. Aaron Pryor had those skill sets that allowed him, and he had a decent chin as well. It allowed him. And Aaron Pryor beat Tommy Hearns in the amateurs. And Tommy Hearns wouldn't want no part of Aaron Pryor, okay? Because he almost knocked out Tommy Hearns when he was younger. And if Aaron Pryor was almost knocking out Tommy Hearns back in the day, and Sugar Ray Leonard could knock out Tommy Hearns, Floyd could knock out Tommy Hearns. Because I think Floyd had a lot more pop than his father did. And he was in between Roger Mayweather and Floyd Mayweather Sr.'s pop. And so, Floyd would have, I think, stopped Tommy Hearns. And just letting you guys know, because, again, it's just a reasoning behind it. You have to look at what I'm talking about. If you understand boxing, if you understand, because a lot of people, they say, oh, this guy's tall, so this guy can't get past his reach. But you got to look at the skills the guy has to get past reach. It's like Canelo. Canelo don't got the biggest reach in the world. He's not the tallest guy in the world. How's he beating up guys that are longer and taller than him? It's not a problem for Canelo. He gets on the inside, and he still hits these guys, and he goes to the body. How is he able to do that? Erislandy Lara, phenomenon guy, piston jab. But Canelo's getting on the inside and beating you up and busting your eye and getting to your body. How's he managing to do that? He don't got that reach. He don't got that height. So how's he beating you like that? You got to ask yourself those questions. When you look at Floyd versus Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd versus Shane Mosley, Floyd versus Tony Pep, Floyd versus Gennaro Hernandez, all these guys are bigger, taller, longer than Floyd. He's getting on the inside and still roughing them up and beating them up. How's he managing to do that? Floyd versus Zab Judah, where they have equal height and reach. How's he managing to do that? So you have to ask yourself those questions. And this is the thing I think a lot of people don't factor in, that Floyd has those skills to be able to get to the inside. And, Ray Leonard, it took him a little while to get to the inside of Hearns, as he started to walk to him. It wouldn't take Floyd that long because Floyd would mix it up. He'd use the high guard. Sometimes he used the bob and weave. Sometimes he used sometimes he would use the snapback, bait him in and counter. So there's many different things Floyd could use on a taller guy. And I saw, like, for instance, Jean Pascal, I saw him use some of those things against Dimitri Bivol. And that's what showed me that this guy doing different things. There was a time when he was walking to Dimitri Bivol, just walking him down. So there are different things you can do. And when you're boxing, you mix it up all the time. It's just you have to know when to mix it up, how you set your traps and stuff like that. And Floyd really knows how to do that in the ring, so he can walk to you. You saw Floyd walk to Canelo Alvarez. You facing a guy that much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful than you. Canelo hit him a shot in his thigh, and he had to go and get massage for that shot. Canelo hits hard. How did Floyd avoid those hard punches? How was he able to walk Canelo down at certain points in that fight? You have to ask yourself those questions. When Canelo walked down Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., people were saying Chavez Jr. was drained. He didn't come to fight and stuff. No, Chavez Jr. came to fight. But what Canelo did to him caused Chavez Jr. to have to Chavez Jr. was uncomfortable because Chavez Jr. in between punches, Canelo would counterpunch him. And you have to understand, Canelo's a counterpuncher. So when Chavez Jr. was trying to impose his will and be the bully, now he had to be on the back foot boxing. And Canelo just kept on keeping him on the back foot, which he not used to doing. Chavez Jr. not used to being on the back foot. He like to come forward. Canelo didn't give him that. Same thing with Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin had to box because he was looking to be the bully in that ring, and it was not going to happen today. Canelo was walking him down, keeping out of the line of his jab. If Gennady Golovkin was touching with his jab, that's a different story. Canelo was working that body relentlessly and walking down Gennady Golovkin. And he was staying out of the line of Gennady Golovkin's shots. He was coming in at different angles on Gennady Golovkin and walking him down. And he kept on walking him down. In fact, in the later rounds, he was walking him down. Gennady Golovkin tried to rally, and Canelo wasn't having it. He was blocking all the shots, parrying all the shots, and he was just walking him down like a dog. He was walking him down. And that's what y'all was seeing. You're seeing Canelo put pressure on Gennady Golovkin. You look at Gennady Golovkin's face at the end of that second fight. Y'all want a third fight? You want Canelo to beat this guy and kill him? You know Canelo killed a guy in sparring? Do you know that? A really great fighter, too. He killed that dude in sparring. Y'all don't understand. These guys are killers. Canelo's a killer. Floyd's a killer. All right? These guys are not just, it's not just, Sugar Ray Leonard was a killer, yeah, in the ring. He had the killer instinct. But Floyd and Canelo are different kinds of killers. And when you see the behind the scenes stuff, when these guys are sparring and different things, then you realize how dangerous these guys are. But they choose to approach different things in the ring different ways. Okay. But they killers, and that's what people don't understand. Deontay Wilder think he bad. Everybody's thinking Tyson Fury going to get knocked out by Deontay Wilder. I don't think you guys understand. Tyson Fury's from a different cloth, ladies and gentlemen. You think that this guy, because he's boxing and stuff, and he looked pretty and stuff, that means he can't take a punch. It's not that. That's not the case with Tyson Fury. And I think a lot of people, again, are underestimating these boxers because they don't understand boxing. And Tyson Fury said it. He's going in there to bang. He's going in there to stop Wilder. He's not going in there to just box and be cool and cute. And Wilder's going to feel the heat. And when he feels the heat from Tyson Fury, because they're all assuming, don't assume nothing. Don't assume that Fury can't punch. When you're in that ring and you take a punch from him, then you can assume that. Don't assume nothing about your opponent. Take nothing of your opponent for granted. Wilder needs to take nothing of Fury for granted. Fury needs to take nothing of Wilder for granted. But they just talk. They talk to just get the fans riled up. Them boys gonna rumble though. So in short, what I'm saying is a lot of you guys need to focus on what really boxing's about. Every time I say something, it makes people think about, what am I saying? What am I really saying? You know what I mean? We want to talk a little bit more into boxing. So here's another one. Of course, Floyd is in demand. Now he's not just in demand by boxers, but he's in demand by MMA fighters. So Khabib Nurmagomedov, he wants to fight Floyd Mayweather. And Tony Ferguson decided to pick on him. And he was telling him how, he was telling him this. He said, tried to be nice, but you still my beat. Team Khabib, check it out. You couldn't box your way out of a paper bag. I see you and the team working on that footwork running from a much-needed butt whooping. Keep swimming, Shrimp. The fans like me better. I'm the champ, chump. So he was trying to goad him into a UFC fight. And of course, Khabib wanted to chase that paper. He don't mind going in the ring and seeing what his skills can be compared to, Floyd Mayweather, who's considered the best ever. So obviously, Khabib would chase that fight like relentlessly. You know what I mean? So there's Khabib, luckily for him, is being called out by Ferguson, which is also cool because Ferguson is saying, you know what, man, I want to fight with you. And that's good. When people want to fight you, that means you're in demand, which means your stock went up. So that's cool. And of course, uh, Khabib, he pulled out the fight. Apparently, he was weight drained and he almost died from dehydration. See, it's dangerous. All these sports are dangerous in the sense that you have to be careful. If you weight train, man, you could get messed up. You know what I mean? As an athlete, it can mess up your kidneys and stuff. You know. But here's the other one from TMZ. Again, these are just guys from outside. Tenshin Nasukawa. He's calling out Floyd. You ain't ready for these hands. And this is a little video on it right here. Let me play it for you guys. Actually, it's gonna play on YouTube. Is it? What's it playing on? Oh, TMZ. Okay, so this is TMZ. There he is. Throwing that lead left. So he goes to the he goes to lead foot position and then he throws the lead left. Okay, cool. Right? So he's showing that he can throw his left, which is cool. I mean, that's cool. But the youngster, he got a lot of energy and everything, but he don't understand what it is to be wily. He doesn't understand that. He got a lot of energy though. And he's saying, I'm not sure if a 42-year-old can react to these. So he's trying to push, he's trying to promote himself as well. It's supposed to be an exhibition match, but of course, Tenshin Nasukawa, he's going to come in to bring his all. He's going to try to knock out Floyd if he can, because you can get notorious a reputation from that. Floyd said, I'm moving around with the guy for 9 minutes, but clearly Nasukawa ain't taking the bout lightly. He really, those Japanese dudes, they really, you get a shot like that, they going at it hard, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, Tenshin's already thrown out a few impressive highlights in the ring since Floyd announced the tilt was back on, and now the kickboxer is sending money a message on social media. The vid shows Tenshin popping off lightning quick moves and some seriously fast jabs. It's not jabs, dude. It's lead lefts. Writing he's not sure how Floyd, who's 41, can keep up. So he's trying to goad Floyd into a fight. I mean, hey, man, do what you do. At least people know who Tenshin Nasukawa is now. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So this is what's happening in boxing at present. Ooh, it's saying the video is not available. Let me see what's going on here. I'm just going to replenish. Hopefully I still got internet connection. Oh, we got some bills to pay, bro. Yeah. So I just wanted to do that. Some of you guys already put a like in the like section, and that's cool. What you need up in here. You guys have got questions? Let me hear what your questions are, man. Because I've been talking boxing for a quick minute. What you guys got to say, man? Let's talk. It's hot today, man. In the shade everywhere, man. It's just really, really hot. Yeah, I mean, we can talk all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to show you guys that there's different eras, like Chavez era as well. Chavez era was an era in which Julio Cesar Chavez, remember, he had no professional fights, whereas Sugar Ray Robinson had amateur background, sorry. Chavez didn't have no amateur background, kind of like Canelo. Canelo, on the other hand, was brought up really, he had some amateur background because he was, as a child, he was fighting all the time. But Chavez Senior, he didn't really have much amateur background. He didn't go to the Olympics and that stuff. So you have to take time to get yourself in order, get some experience in boxing. And if you're learning on the job, that's how it goes. And Canelo, he's learning on the job. You have Deontay Wilder, who at least had amateur background and got a bronze medal in the Olympics like Floyd. And you can see Deontay borrows a lot of things from Floyd. And he should. So at the end of the day, they have boxers who, and then Chavez Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. grew up in an environment again where the old school, where you stay busy fights. Roberto Duran, stay busy fights. So in between a major fight, sometimes you go up in weight, sometimes you don't, and you just fight somebody, a tomato can, somebody to just keep you in shape, because otherwise you blow up. You blow up in weight, especially these guys who were bigger. They were much bigger than their weight class. You know, Chavez was a big dude, super featherweight. You gotta keep busy so that you don't stay out of shape. You know, he was bigger. He was a bigger dude than a super featherweight. And Roberto Duran, same thing. Sugar Ray Robinson, same thing. Obviously, Sugar Ray Robinson was really a middleweight, a big middleweight, like a super middleweight. We didn't have super middleweight back then. So those are things you have to factor in. That's why sometimes you hear Buddy McGirt, all these different guys say different times. But when you condense down who they fought and who they beat, the people that really count in their resume, that's what you have to look at. That's what Roger Mayweather would say: who they fought, who they beat. And that's really what counts on a resume. It's not so much how many fights you had. It's not even how many championship fights you have. Because sometimes you're fighting a dud that you shouldn't even be in the ring with you. Some people argue that Andre Berto shouldn't have even been in the ring with Floyd because Floyd needed a challenge. But then again, Floyd always wanted to face Andre Berto. Andre Berto always wanted to face Floyd. So they finally made it happen. I mean, this is post Manny Pacquiao. After you face Manny Pacquiao, after Floyd faced Manny Pacquiao, pretty much his job was done. 48-0. That was it. It didn't really matter no more because there was nobody else to beat at that time. And now there's some people to beat. They're not on the level of Floyd in the terms of, how much people know it. Manny Pacquiao is a household name. Floyd was a household name when they fought, right? They're probably the most prominent boxers in the world. And still to this day, they are. And so, that fight with Manny Pacquiao was big. There was nowhere else to go. So that's why Floyd's kind of like left boxing, is like looking to explore and conquer other territories. So he fought one of the best MMA fighters, pound for pound, the best MMA fighter at the time, which was Conor McGregor, who had called him out, by the way. And now he's fighting one of the best up-and-coming kickboxers, always going to be fighting the guy that beat, and is undefeated UFC fighter. So it's kind of sounding different, but if you think about what Roy Jones Jr. did or wanted to do with Anderson Silva, it really is the same thing Floyd's doing right now. Now, does it really have a positive impact on his boxing record? The exhibition match is not going to go on his record, first of all. But is it going to, if he goes and fights, say, for instance, Magmedev, or pulls another, that doesn't really do much for his boxing record? No, not really. But it does, it adds a different sort of spin to boxing, that boxing can now highlight other sports, that also he can show how superior boxing can be in terms of boxing, that is, specialized boxing, to other sports. Like, some people say, the MMA fighter, in terms of striking, they're the better strikers than, boxers, and they get knockouts better. Well, now you saw a boxer who's not known for knocking out people knock out a guy who's supposedly this devastating striker, right? Like, what's the guy's name? Undisputed, what's his name? Not Shannon, the other guy, the hater of Floyd Mayweather. I forgot what his name is. Skip Bayless. Yeah, Skip Bayless was like, Conor McGregor is the most feared man on the planet. He'll knock out Floyd within 3 rounds. I was like, dude, you just don't know. And Floyd ended up stopping him, right? And he had an excuse. Skip Bayless had an excuse. Hey, man, you serious Floyd Mayweather hater, man. Now, a lot of people tell me I'm a Floyd Mayweather lover. Let me put it this way. I don't love Floyd particularly. And what I mean by that is, I'm not one of those people who gets emotionally involved with Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? I look at his boxing. If you guys have been paying attention to what I've been saying all along, and you listen to how I talk about boxing, you would realize, yes, Floyd Mayweather Jr. definitely is the best ever at boxing. And he's doing different things with boxing. I don't particularly think that his 50th fight with Conor McGregor is a significant one. I think of it as a glorified sparring match. But just because of the way how the world has seen Conor McGregor as this, the baddest man on the planet, he can pull this off and stuff, was what, makes it something that you can say, okay, well, fine, we can let that one slide. Okay. It's kind of like Roy Jones Jr. going to have Anderson Silva face him. I get what Floyd was doing there. So that's cool. But really, if you're talking about boxing matches that matter, Because I would think of Conor McGregor as a padded fight. I even argued that Andre Berto was a padded fight, and I didn't go see it. Um, Even though Andre Berto is still fighting in boxing, and he's very competitive. All now, he just recently beat um, the former world champion. What's his name? I forgot his name. The Southpaw. All right, good, solid Southpaw at that. But Berto beat him fair and square. And so Berto's still up there, and he's live. He's not. He's not okay. Berto is in when you talk about welterweights, Berto is one of the top 10 welterweights out there. That's no doubt about that. He's still around. Victor Ortiz even is moving up the ranks as well. So Berto is one of the top 10 welterweights in different circles. In fact, let me show you guys something, because if you look at the boxing rankings right now, it's one of the craziest things in the world. All right. People say, well, Berto was not. Yeah, Berto didn't necessarily belong in the ring with Floyd Mayweather as a challenge to him, clearly. And Floyd was doing all kinds of things with Berto. But make no mistake. So Andre Berto in the WBC is number 7 ranked in the WBC ahead of Amir Khan. In the WBA, he's not there. In the IBF, he's there. He's number 7 as well. Yeah. So in the IBF and the WBC, he's ranked number 7 behind guys like Danny Garcia, Jesse Vargas, and then some other names that you just don't know. Which I would prefer if Berto fought those guys and just beat them up, like your Dennis Ugas, who John Porter's supposed to face. And like, come on, Ugas, like really, And then there's this guy Edgidigus Cavaliauskas. I think Edgidigus Cavaliauskas is supposed to face Terrence Crawford. He's the dude to face Terrence Crawford. Dude, like Edgidigus Cavaliauskas. This dude, from Eastern Europe, man, come on. Put Berto to face that dude. Terrence Crawford is too good for that dude. You know what I mean? And Kerman Lejaraga, and Kudratilo Abdukakarov. Like, come on, man. Like, really? These guys are ranking against Andre Berto and Amir Khan. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? You guys get what I'm saying? When you look at the WBA, there's a guy named Alexander Desputin. He's ahead of Jesse Vargas. You know what I mean? There's another guy, Jamal. But, I mean, they got to get their shots. So, all right, fair enough. But these guys are ahead of Adrian Broner. They're ahead of Amir Khan. They're ahead of Josecito Lopez. Even Fabian Maidana is there. And they're ahead of him. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Come on. But everybody got to get a chance. They're moving up the rankings. But these guys don't deserve, I mean, the other guys should be fighting. They should be fighting like, okay, let me put it this way. Edgidigus Cavaliauskas should be facing a guy like either Amir Khan, who's free, Josecito Lopez, well, he's facing Keith Thurman, so I'll leave that alone. So either Amir Khan or Andre Berto should be facing one of those duds. You know what I mean? Because no disrespect to them guys. They work hard to get where they at, but ain't nobody want to go see you. You know what I mean? Errol Spence Jr. is fighting Mikey Garcia. He ain't want to fight Quadratilo Abdu Quaxorov. You don't want to fight that dude. Who was that dude? You can dispatch him really rather quickly, right? Or Kerman Leharaga or Keita Obara. Like what? Like really? Like really? Anyway, they work hard to get where they are. Carlos Ocampo, he already got dispensed by Errol Spence Jr. I mean, come on, man. Devin Alexander's the dude I was talking about that Berto just recently faced. And I'm just saying, I'm just saying, nobody want to see that. You know what I mean? So yeah, Berto is in the top 7. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised Berto, in terms of the top 10 welterweights. Let me go with the ring for a minute. The ring's very biased. But let me see who the top 10 welterweights they have there. Come on, guys, leave a comment in the comment section, man. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Y'all just like duds on my page. I'm like, what's going on with y'all? Hold on, ratings. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna go to welterweight here and see what's up. So here are the top 10 welterweights, and they got some weird named guy in there who ain't done nothing, right? You got Errol Spence Jr., okay, Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Manny Pacquiao, Danny Garcia. Then you got Edgeditis Kavaliauskas. Edgeditis Kavaliauskas from Lithuania. This is the dude that's supposed to face Terrence Crawford, who Terrence Crawford will wipe the floor with, because this dude ain't faced nobody. He faced David Avanesian. That's basically it. David Avanesian ain't won nothing. Okay. Then you got this Joker that Sean Porter's supposed to fight. All of a sudden, Yordonis Ugas, he's in the top 10 welterweights. He's at number 8. I'm like, how did that happen? Dude, not even in the WBC, he's ranked that high. Ugas is ranked number 6 in the WBC, and trust me, Ugas ain't no challenge for Sean Porter. Okay. So I don't even know how he's ranked ahead of Andre Berto. I don't know how that happened. So, like, what I'm basically saying is Berto is still alive inside of the division, and he's been getting some good wins. So, beat Devin Alexander recently. And Jeff Horn is number 9. I don't even know how Ugas is ahead of Jeff Horn or Jesse Vargas. I don't understand it, because these guys are proven. They face top competition. I mean, Jesse Vargas faced Pacquiao. Jeff Horn faced Pacquiao. How did Yordenis Ugas get past them? How did Edgeditis Kavaliauskas get ahead of these guys? How? Let me explain what I mean. How these guys get ahead of these guys? Why I say that is, what I mean by that is, they ain't fought nobody. So how, just based on their record, it's based on their record you're getting this? It just don't make no sense. Jeff Horn has faced Manny Pacquiao. Yes, he lost to Terrence Crawford. Yes, Terrence Crawford knocked him out and stopped him. But he about to fight a super welterweight, middleweight in his next fight, and he gonna do great. He just gonna do great. Jeff Horn. I expect Jeff Horn to beat that dude, and that dude is good, but he ain't Jeff Horn. Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas has fought, and I mean, all his fights are competitive, and he's an excellent boxer. He's not the top tier yet. He's in the top 10, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Okay. So, I mean, I don't understand what the ring is doing. Where Edgeditis Kavaliauskas and Yordenis Ugas come from, because this guy was going to potentially be a Terrence Crawford opponent, and Yordenis Ugas. You got to wait till the guy face the guy, man. He ain't faced Terrence Crawford. I hope Terrence Crawford faces Louis Collazo, man. Honestly. Because I think that's a better matchup than this dude. I mean, he needs a shot at it, but he's a top-ranked guy, and top-ranked might do in-house stuff. We're still going to wait and see what happens with the fight. I hope, though, he fights Louis Collazo, because if he faced Louis Collazo, that would be such a better fight. People will say, oh, Louis Collazo's old. No. And I bet you, I guarantee you, Louis Collazo is going to represent. And Terrence Crawford is not going to just get Louis Collazo out of there unless he can cut his eyes, which ain't going to happen, right? And Terrence is a killer and all of that, but Louis Collazo, I mentioned he's an old dude. He wily, he a veteran. He going to figure it out. Now, what Terrence Crawford need to do is watch what Amir Khan did to Louis Collazo. That's what you need to do. But Louis Collazo can roll punches and stuff, so and he not as fast as Amir Khan, so it should be good. And then Yordenis Ugas, I don't even know why this dude facing. He got beat already a couple of times by better, good, not even as good as Sean Porter opposition. This dude gonna get stopped by Sean Porter. Sean Porter deserves to stop this dude because he don't deserve to be in the ring with him. Everybody's excited about Ugas facing Sean Porter. I'm like, come on, man. Sean Porter should be facing Jesse Vargas. That's who he should be facing. Or Jeff Horn. The top rank should try a crossover. I know Jesse Vargas with the zone, but Jesse Vargas should really fight Sean Porter. That's what fight I want to see. I don't want to see no Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas need to work his way up. He need to fight somebody. You know what I mean? Fight Jesse Vargas, Yordenis Ugas. Edgeditis Kavaliauskas. You need to fight like, a Danny Garcia. Put you out of your misery immediately. stop you in your tracks. These guys don't deserve to be in the top 10, man. Put this dude to face this dude, and if he survives the fight and he's not knocked out, then we can talk about something. He got to win that fight too, not just face Danny Garcia. These guys, what this dude is doing in this thing, they're better people. There's Andre Berto, there's Andre Berto, and there's what's his name? Victor Ortiz, man. There's Louis Collazo, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? These guys got reputations. They got long records, and they been winning, they stay busy fights or whatever. They've been winning. So come on, man. Put up Fabian Madonna. I don't even know what Madonna's doing, though. But, come on, man. They rate up this dude, Edge. Oh, he's unbeaten, undefeated. I don't care about that, man. Who he fight? Who did he fight? He need to fight somebody, not Terrence Crawford. Put him to face somebody who is reasonably good. Put him to face those guys. No, you're going to just put him up against Terrence Crawford for feeder. Come on, man. To make Terrence Crawford look good, that's what it is? Come on, man. You can't be fooling people, man. So this guy, I think, is too high up. He don't deserve to be there. All right? I would love to see him face Keith Thurman. That would be nice. And you know what? Forget Keith Thurman. Forget all them guys. I want to see him face Danny Garcia. I heard that they said that Danny Garcia was offered $3 million to face Terrence Crawford. And Danny Garcia see much better money than that. So they didn't even respond after that. And that offer, how are we going to cross the pond with Top Rank on ESPN? We're going to be on Showtime on ESPN. Danny Garcia fight on PBC, first of all. How Terrence Crawford going to make that PBC fight happen? Talking about, we can make that happen. It's not going to be on ESPN, right? Because that's not a PBC deal. So where they going to have to fight, right? You're making it offer what? $3 million? Danny Garcia makes that money. He sees better money than that. So, and then where are you going to fight? On ESPN? So you call the shots, you make the offer, you call the shots? No. Danny Garcia and they make the offers. They call the shots, right? Al Heyman and company. So what are you really saying? Plus, you think about it, when it comes to resume, Danny Garcia has faced better welterweights than Terrence Crawford. So everybody's talking about everybody avoiding Terrence Crawford. Hey, man, why does Danny Garcia need to come across and fight Terrence Crawford? Why he got to do all that work? Okay, he got Manny Pacquiao now up in the PBC. He can rematch Sean Porter because he want to avenge his loss. He can face Keith Thurman. He can face Errol Spence Jr. We got killers on this side of the fence. Why we need you? You're going to just stand on the outside watching in. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have to be like Timothy Bradley. You're going to stand on the outside watching in unless your boss, your promoter, because guess what? Terrence Crawford got a boss. Your boss, which is Bob Arum and company, will have to show that they really want to do crossover fights. And nobody's going to come across the ESPN to face you. The action's on Fox. The action's on Showtime. The action's on CBS and NBC. Okay? So ain't nobody coming across the ESPN to fight you. You understand? So you got to make up your mind what you want to do, Terrence. So, because you ain't that big. You selling out crowds and stuff, but you ain't never do no pay-per-view. So you can't call no shots. You definitely can't call no shots with Errol Spence because Errol Spence is about to do a pay-per-view with Mikey Garcia. Guess who? Mikey Garcia. The former top-ranked fighter that Bob Arum wanted to give a hard time to? Now Mikey Garcia got Errol Spence. Tough luck, Terrence. You're going to stand in the cold. And so far, you're going to be fighting duds. You're going to sit there and fight duds, and that's what it is. And you can put the reputation the most duck fighter if you want. But until you step up to the plate, actually cross the floor by fighting an Al Heyman fighter, then you want to make the effort to cross the floor into PBC or to Showtime to have a pay-per-view. If you're willing to do that, you don't make no offers about what you can make offers. There's nothing wrong with that. $3 million, whatever. But you got to make sure that you get one of these top guys. And I say Terrence Crawford should face Danny Garcia. That's honestly, that's the fight that you should be trying to make. And you should chase down Danny like if it's your life. depending on it. That's what you need to do. You know what I mean? And Terrence, you could get Manny Pacquiao too. And guess what? Manny Pacquiao chasing down Floyd. So we got a whole set of people chasing down a whole set of people. So just take it one day at a time, lay back, and push it. Because I think Terrence versus Errol could happen, but I really want to see Terrence versus Thurman. Errol Spence is cool, but Thurman versus Terrence Crawford is a more interesting fight for me. Because Errol still don't got that resume. But the problem with that is Terrence ain't got that resume either. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. And Keith Thurman would be fun to see Keith Thurman deal with Terrence Crawford. I'm telling you, it'd be action straight through. Sean Porter versus Terrence Crawford would be also an extremely interesting fight. But, you know, just juggling these guys around. Anyway, so my point being anyway that Andre Berto, though he was like, he's kind of like a stay busy for Floyd. It was like a, you know, it's like his stay busy fight, a glorified stay. He's not a stay busy fight. Berto is not a stay busy fight. But for Floyd, on Floyd's level, it was like a cool down from the Manny Pacquiao fight. Okay? Floyd had been going hard, fight after fight after fight, and he got a rest with Andre Berto. And then he really took a rest at the age of 41 or 40, I can't remember, against Conor McGregor, which was definitely a glorified stay busy match, glorified sparring match. So when you look at Floyd, we really assess him on a different level to everybody else, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Man, I really racked up a chat, man. I've been talking to you guys for hours and hours about boxing. I love doing this. This is fun. I've been looking at a lot of boxing because this, you know, the heavyweight championship is coming around the corner. So anyway, when you look at, you know, just the way how things are aligned and the politics of boxing, that's the thing that kind of annoys me. Like they take advantage and people just parrot things without thinking. You know, one thing I want to tell people, you got to think for yourself. You got to, you know, process information and think things out. I always tell people that. I'm no great thinker. I'm no very intelligent person. I just look into things. And I wish people would do the same. You know, Errol Spence is the #1 perceived as the #1 welterweight in the world, and it's perceived as the most avoided welterweight in the world because right now he still hasn't gotten fights with Keith Thurman, with Sean Porter, with Manny Pacquiao, with Danny Garcia. Well, particularly Danny Garcia. Pacquiao just came into the scene. Okay. And then I'm hearing Kell Brook's going to join the mix. That's crazy. The welterweight division is going to be nuts. It's going to be a nuts division. You got straight up killers in that division. You're going to have Spence, Crawford, Thurman, Porter, mercy, Pacquiao, Garcia, Brook, Vargas. I'm not even include Jeff Horn. You know, then you got Broner. Oh man, this is a wicked Berto. Only straight up killers in here, man. That's incredible. Then you got Fabian Madana's brother in there coming up. Amir Khan. That's a packed, stacked. You know, you still got Collazo as well. You got to think about he's on the fringe. Devin Alexander. You know, that's, you know, upcomers like Josh Kelly from the UK. I mean, it's a ridiculous. Jeff Horn's up in there. Thomas Delorme. Man, this is a stacked division. If you want to be in any division, I can understand why Mikey Garcia's coming up there. That's a division that makes money, man. And I say, Mikey Garcia, you know, kudos to you, bro. Go all the way up there and see if you can cash out some money, man. And win. If you could beat Errol Spence, man, that's a crazy division to be in. You're going to have the pick of the pick to face you. So I forgot Lamont Peterson's up in that division too. So it's it's the most stacked division of all divisions, the welterweight division, thanks to Floyd Mayweather. So, and it's kind of like in the middle of, you know, the weight classes, because north of welterweight is the bigger guys and south of welterweight is the smaller guys. You know, it's like almost top dead center in there. So that's really cool. Let me see here. So I'm just pointing this out because I find that it's kind of ridiculous what I'm seeing. Even Lomachenko is an excellent fighter. He's going really well, but he's still, you can't say that he's pound for pound #1 in the world. I don't know how people get in that stuff. through their head. He definitely the top guy in his division. He's the most accomplished lightweight for the few fights that he has. But to say that he is it lightweight? I think he's in lightweight. But to say he's pound for pound number one, I think that's a stretch, man. I just think so. Anyways, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's now 5:57, almost 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know what's going on. I have to go and move around, find out what's up. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone, so I've been talking a lot about boxing. Sometimes I feel really strange. I don't know how to explain how I feel. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Nobody's been talking in the chat sections. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna leave you guys to. I've been talking boxing almost every day. I'm gonna leave you guys to do what you do. Peace to you guys. And God's blessing. Bye.